Welcome back, math people. Today we are learning about I can find equivalent ratios. Learning objective today. I can find equivalent ratios. Hopefully, you guys did your Khan Academy assignment earlier this week and you already learned what a ratio is. But if not, we'll go over it again real quick here. As you can see, hopefully, I have up on the wall here a recipe for unicorn cake. I have a recipe for unicorn cake, and we're going to pretend that I'm having a big party and I want to make some unicorn cake. And here's my recipe to make one unicorn cake. And as you can see up here, my unicorn cake has 3 cups of sugar and 1 cup of butter. And there's probably some other ingredients there too, but I didn't list them all. I wanted to keep it simple for everybody, nice and easy. Plus, it's a magic unicorn cake, and if I told you all the ingredients, then it wouldn't be magical anymore, would it? So, 3 cups of sugar, 1 cup of butter. So I could say here that my ratio of sugar to butter and I'm just writing S to B there so you know that I'm talking about my ratio of sugar to butter, because the order matters. If I said butter to sugar, it would be different than sugar to butter, and I think they talked about that in the Khan Academy video too. My ratio here of sugar to butter, I could write as 3 to 1, which would look like this. Three sugar, 1 butter. So that would be my ratio, 3 parts sugar to 1 part butter. Now here's my problem. I'm having a really big party. I'm having a lot of people over, and I'm going to need more than one unicorn cake. I've decided that instead of unicorn cake, it's only going to feed, let's say, 4 people, and I'm having 12 people over. So one unicorn cake isn't going to be enough. I'm going to need, for this big party I'm having, 3 unicorn cakes. So how do I figure out how to take my recipe, 3 parts sugar to 1 part butter recipe, and come up with an equivalent ratio so that I can use this recipe to make 3 cakes and not just 1? And it's actually a lot like finding equivalent fractions. Since I'm making 3 cakes instead of just 1, I'm going to take both my parts, I'm going to multiply by 3. Multiply both parts by 3, and that's just an arrow I drew so you can see I'm moving it over. So I'm going to take, if I'm going to take my recipe, my 3 cups of sugar, and make 3 cakes, I'm then going to need 9 cups of sugar, or 3 times 3. So now to make 3 cakes instead of 1, I'm going to need 9 cups of sugar, and I'm going to need 1 cup of butter times 3. I'm going to need 3 cups of butter. And to get those numbers, I just multiplied each part by 3. So now my new recipe for 3 cakes, when I go to the store, instead of just buying 3 cups of sugar and 1 cup of butter, I'm going to need to buy 9 cups of sugar and 3 cups of butter. My new ratio? 9 to 3. I'm going to say these are equivalent ratios because all I did was multiply each part by 3. Just like if I was coming up with an equivalent fraction, multiply the numerator, multiply the denominator by the same number. 9 to 3 is an equivalent ratio of 3 to 1. And that works the other way too. If I were to take this 9 to 3 and divide by 3, I can also get both parts by 3. I could also get an equivalent ratio. So, switch papers here. So this time, for my party, I'm making super chocolate cake instead of unicorn cake. And I have my super chocolate cake recipe up here. And my super chocolate cake takes 6 cups of sugar and 10 cups of butter. Seems like a lot of butter for a cake, but hey, this is math class, not cooking class. So 6 to 10 ratio of sugar to butter here. So my ratio for my super chocolate cake, ratio of sugar to butter is 6 to 10. Now, here's the problem. The super chocolate cake is a really huge, gigantic cake. And I am having a pretty small party this time. This time I'm not having a huge party like I was with my unicorn cakes. This time I'm having a smaller party. I'm only having a few people over. And I only want to make half a cake. I want to make a cake that's half the size or only make half of a cake. So I can do this the same way to come up with an equivalent ratio. I can divide each number instead of multiplying, because this time, instead of making a bigger recipe, I'm trying to make a smaller recipe. If I'm trying to make something smaller, I divide, right? So if I'm trying to make only half a cake, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by 2. So each ingredient by 2. So my 6, I'm going to divide by 2. My 10 cups of butter, also going to divide by 2. And now, if I'm only making half a cake, I'm only going to need 3 cups, 3 cups of sugar, and I'm only going to need 5 cups of butter. So I took both parts of the ratio, divided them both by 2 because I'm making half. Now instead of 6 cups of sugar for half a cake, I only need 3 cups. And instead of 10 cups of butter, I only need 5 cups for half. So my equivalent ratio, here was my ratio for the whole cake. My equivalent ratio for half the cake would be 3 to 5. And again, just taking the 6 dividing by 2, taking the 10 dividing by 2. So you can multiply to make a bigger equivalent ratio, or you can divide each part to make a smaller equivalent ratio, as long as you're dividing both parts by the same number. Now, what I cannot do is divide one part by 2 and then divide the other part by 4. If I do that, I'm going to get a ratio that's not equivalent, just like if I was making an equivalent fraction. So you guys are going to practice this on your own. You're going to have a find the error with a picture. You're going to put it in the discussion board, and then you will have some practice problems. Good luck, math people.